hope that if you're listening to this right now and you are a contractor and you're like, I don't need a fucking designer, you're the guy that probably needs a designer more than anyone else, because
it's not about just picking shit out. It's not. It's way deeper than that. There's a psychology to how we design. When I talk to my clients, it is, how do you live and function in the space, and how do you want to feel? I'm bringing emotion into it. So when we pick things out, it's not just because we picked a gray tile, right? I sound like the freaking Devil Wears Prada right now in that spiel when she goes down the train of, it's not just a blue sweater.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Onsite. We are on episode number 10, and today we have a special guest, one of the educators inside of the EBS community. We have KASS here, the principal designer at KASS Design Studios. I'm super excited to get into this one because for all you contractors out there, designers are a key component to your success, and we've got one of the best here today, so I'm excited to jump into this with you. KASS, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and then we'll dive into this.
Well, I'm an interior designer in LaSalle, Ontario, Canada. I've lived here for most of my life, but I have this weird fascination with construction, and after years in different creative avenues for my career, even a stint in finance, I finally just took the leap and said, screw it, let's get creative. I have two boys. I have two kids, 15 and 12, which is absolutely insane to think about. And part of my purpose, I feel like, is leaving them something that can just make life a little bit easier. So my hope is that with running my own business and with running my company, that they'll have their pick at kind of what they want to do with their own lives, whether it's, running the books or something, marketing wise, or getting their hands actually dirty, whether it's one of the trades or architecture. I mean, it's freaking endless. So, I just like to meet new people, and help them create a space that they actually love and makes them feel good. That's
cool.
Me.
I love that. Appreciate that. I love that you're trying to get your kids involved, even though being an entrepreneur is the most toxic fucking relationship on planet Earth. But at the same time, it has some great perks, and being that, you've gone through the shit, so to speak, if they do decide to be an entrepreneur and work within, the space that you've created, then at least you can give them some guidance on what to avoid throughout that process. Yeah. So I love that you're doing that for your kids. Cool. So the purpose of this podcast is to talk about some projects that you've potentially worked on or been a part of. And so you've been a designer. How long have you been a designer on your own? Oh, sorry. How long have you been a designer for?
I've had my diploma of interior design for 10 years, but I didn't have the balls to go out on my own. So I've been on my own for a good 5 years at this point now.
Cool. So 50-50. And so throughout that time, whether it's a project that you worked on with your employer, or whether or not it's a project that you worked on with yourself, what is like one of the most memorable projects that you had the opportunity to work on, good, bad, or ugly, I don't care, and why?
This is a good one. It's almost like I can't pick. I do have trouble picking favorites, but I mean, okay. The one that I think sticks out the most when you say that is it was actually an insurance office that I designed. I know it sounds boring, but I promise it was really cool. So I had worked with the owner when he was renting his space, and I just kind of decorated it at that point. It was already architecturally designed, and he just needed that little oomph to it. So I had already worked with him previously, and then he bought a building, which was wild at the time because it was right through COVID, and everyone kept saying how crazy he was. And he didn't just buy a building, but it was a building that needed an extension. It had a whole addition on it. And we're talking like the foundation, all structural, and so it was a feat in and of itself to take that on. And then of course he brought me on as well to finish that space. And what was awesome about it is they had an architect, of course, design out the basics. And then I'm looking at the interior and I'm like, this is okay, but it was very office-y, and that's not who they are. And so when I'm looking at it, and I don't know how much I can actually get into here, but creatively, I came up with a better floor plan and they absolutely loved it. And so it got built. But what was wicked about it is so all glass walls, kind of very lofty, kept it a little traditional. But what I loved the most was I managed to convince them to do a floor to ceiling backlit quartz wall using their logo.
Cool.
So we took their hexagon logo. I've got a thing with hexagons. If you look at any of my designs, I do my best to put a hexagon into every design, even if it's a coaster. But with this one, their logo was a hexagon. And so we backlit it. And when you walk into that space, that's what you see front and center. And so when people ask me, what are some jobs you worked on? I guess I'm usually sending them to that one because I was pretty proud.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, congratulations. And we all have different projects that really stand out to us. So even though you said you couldn't find one, you ultimately did find one. And it sounds like it is really one that's unique and special to you. What I want to kind of jump into next is that I'm a contractor, you're a designer. So, in some space of the world, it's like fire and ice, I guess, so to speak, right? Because
you think so?
Well, I don't, but a lot of a lot of contractors do, and that's what I want to dive into. Is that when you hear a contractor complain, "Oh, the designer has like all this shit that they want to do," and I'm just like, dude, that's a fucking opportunity for you to like create something magical. You're just fumbling the way you're communicating with the client about this opportunity. And kind of sewering the designer. And I'm sure this happens quite often, unfortunately. And I think that it comes down to having a confident contractor, having a good communicating designer, and having a creative mind that is kind of interconnected. And then also having a really open client, understanding that there's this dynamic that exists. So talking about some on-site stuff, have there been, and I'm not asking you to sewer or name call or do anything like that.
I would never.
I know. But have there been situations where you feel like maybe the contractor was the evil in the project, and have you experienced, or on the flip side, maybe we don't go negative, maybe we go positive, and talk about, how a project that you maybe worked on had a contractor that really helped push things along when it could have went the other way.
Yeah, I mean, I have a story for all of it, but so if we want to keep things a little bit more on the positive side, I've got, lately especially, I've been having conversations and developing partnerships with people who have just been in it for 20 plus years. And I think, being someone young, I gravitated towards the younger crowd, the younger contractors, the younger people in the industry. And it was, I don't know, a little bit of a pissing match. Like they all just were like, I'm the best. And it doesn't work that way. I mean, like you said, it should be a partnership. And so lately, the builders and contractors who have been talking me up and giving me the best referrals are the ones who have been in it for, I want to say, 20 plus years. And they work on major construction projects. They're not just handyman wannabes. They have the capabilities and the team backing them up, and they've got the years of experience. And so going into some of these, maybe I'm talking about a perfect world, but I know it exists because I've worked with them, is when they already value the designer. They already know that what we're bringing to the table is a level that they just haven't experienced. It's a level of asking questions and understanding our client so that I feel confident enough to actually speak on their behalf. It's not about cutting anybody out of any conversations, but I've been in scenarios where, contractor will say something, or even if it's the cabinet designer wants to bring in something else. And I'm like, look, respectfully, we've already had this conversation. I've already done this with the client. I know that's not what they want. So sure, you can suggest it if you want to pretend you're going to be the hero, but I know for a fact that they're not going to like that. And that's because I've done that due diligence already.
Yeah.
And I think part of it, I could be wrong, but there's a masculine and feminine energy that goes on here, right, Brandon? And
I mean, well, so in all fairness, this first designer that I worked with, I picked everything. I'm not gonna lie, I picked everything. I helped pick the tile, I helped pick the paint, I helped pick the cabinets. I was involved with everything, and I thought I did pretty good, and I didn't. If I'm being completely honest.
Wait, why though?
Because it wasn't my space, and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Okay.
I mean, like, kind of understood. Hey, this looks good with this, but it's all my opinion, right? And
Exactly.
and I'm working for a client who wants something specific, and they don't know any better, so they just like, yeah, sure, sounds good. So on this one project that we incorporated a designer, she was kind of new to the space, like new to the industry, and so I mean, it was a bit of a push-pull struggle, if I'm going to be completely honest. Probably hates me today. Potentially. I hope not, but, maybe she can look in hindsight what really went on there. But at the end of the day, it was like, I was struggling with trying to figure out, like, what do you mean? Why would we go down this direction? And I never gave her the ability to kind of present herself in a way that I could digest it. And then I met another designer that just had all her shit together. It was just super organized and everything was, creative. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, look at this shit that you're creating. And then I gotta build it. And the client's like, look what you built. And it's not that I'm trying to like take away your shine. You have your own way of promoting yourself, but I got to create things that I couldn't even think of. And so in that moment, I was like, fuck it. I'm no longer designing anything ever again in my life. And I will only work with designers. And when I flipped that switch and I gave control, so to speak, to that person and I supported them, I just got a better experience all around, from the client, from the community, from everyone. And there were times where it was like shit was not working, right? Like there were times where it was like the creative idea was just like maybe too creative, a little bit hard to push forward. And so we found ourselves like working together to create this vision that they have, or she had. And I think it really brought everything together nicely. And it was that moment. But I had other moments where I didn't believe. And there are a lot of other contractors out there.
You gotta put your pride aside, right? You gotta put that ego aside and like just trust for a little bit. Like, just hear us out sometimes. That's all I'm saying. Because what you said though, Brandon, is true. Is sometimes not every idea is a good one, and that's okay. But if you've got
it wasn't that it wasn't a good one. It was that it had complexity to it to a certain level that we couldn't draw it. And so when you can't really draw it and create the perception of what you're trying to build, it's harder. So you really have to get into their head in some way, shape, or form. But that's the good shit. Like when you can find the shit that they can't draw, but they're like, get this out of here. And it's like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. On site.
But just like, we're going to open up this wall and we're going to hope for the best. And you know what? Here's plan A, B, and C, just in case.
Yes. And so when I focused on that and that direction, it really changed, how I was able to operate my business. And and I think there's a lot of contractors that are hung up on this, and they've been in the industry for too fucking long. And it's literally the thing that's holding them back. Yeah. Like the number one thing that's holding them back. Contractors don't have the bandwidth or the creativity and understanding of how to merge colors and textures and different elements together. We just don't. Like, it's not what we do. And even if you say you do,
though, right? Yeah. That's the whole thing. Like, that's okay. That's what we bring to it for you.
I know. Yes.
It's like, my job is to be like, here's the plan. Let's make it easy.
Yeah, but we need the contractor to lower his ego and open the door and allow that to come in. And I hope that if you're listening to this right now and you are a contractor and you're like, I don't need a fucking designer, you're the guy that probably needs a designer more than anyone else, because
it's not about just picking shit out. It's not. It's way deeper than that. There's a psychology to how we design. When I talk to my clients, it is, how do you live and function in the space, and how do you want to feel? I'm bringing emotion into it. So when we pick things out, it's not just because we picked a gray tile, right? I sound like the freaking Devil Wears Prada right now in that spiel when she goes down the train of, it's not just a blue sweater.
Right. Yeah.
But it's true. And we understand the clients on a deeper level.
Well, on a different level, because the contractor also needs to understand his client on a deeper level from a different perspective. And I think this is where the unique synergy of these two services really need to align. It's very different than subbing out a plumber or an electrician or a tiling contractor. It's very different because for me, what it is about is that the client has instilled a level of trust with the designer on bringing together a creative vision. And if the client doesn't have a creative vision, that they're really trusting the designer to execute on something. And maybe they do have a creative vision that's hidden, but nonetheless, the client is the one that is paying for all of this, and they want something magical. Almost always, the good ones really want something crazy, and so really incorporating and encouraging bringing in a designer, I think, is huge. But tell me about. So we didn't want to go down the negative path.
Yes.
But do you have any I'm cool to just go down it a little bit. Do you have any derailed scenarios where the train came off the track, the contractor maybe blew it up with the client, and maybe in your opinion, how could that have been avoided?
Fortunately, I don't have any catastrophic things where everyone was really pissed off at the end of it. So I hope that that's, not going to burst your bubble. But I had one project in particular that I was totally thrown under the bus. And this was a new partnership that I was really excited about. It was a pretty big project. And the one thing too that just irks me is I bring the contractors onto these jobs, and then they have the audacity when I'm not being their little assistant to hand them, or spoon feed them all the details, that they this one in particular totally threw me under the bus with the client. And I just did my best to get through the project as fast as possible, focus on how the client felt. Like you mentioned, they're the ones paying for it. It's their house, it's their money. And so how they felt about it and their experience with me was the most important. So I kind of just, with the contractor, did as little as possible, tried to delegate it to my design assistant at the time so that I could save my sanity. And in the end, the project turned out great, but I think that's because I was managing it. So I just constantly kept in communication with the client themselves, but it was a really big piss off because the facts are facts. And I know that even as a woman, as a feeling individual, I can bring a level of drama to things. But when facts are facts, I have no shame. But facts are facts. And so when I'm looking at the documentation and you're telling me that there was never a tub that was supposed to be specified, and I can tell you that it was there from the beginning, you're wrong. And I'll tell you that you're wrong. And then unfortunately, you won't get more projects from me. So I hope you enjoyed the $300,000 project that this was, and I won't call you again.
Okay, so there's a little sting there. You were a little upset. You're a little upset. It wasn't that bad, but it was something. And and that it was just a little thing. But the great part is you focused on it, and you focused on the client. I always believe that if you can solve a big enough problem, everything else will kind of resolve itself throughout the whole process. And in this journey in construction, renovations, all that kind of stuff, at the end of the day, what we really are trying to do is just exceed the client's expectations. And if you're not, then I mean your focus is misaligned. And that's why I really like incorporating and bringing in a designer. I've kind of hung up my tool belt, but to focus on coaching and mentorship through the community. But at the same time, I have a lot of memories in that space, and the transition of going from doing everything I remember going to Home Depot, picking out toilets and plumbing fixtures, and then there was a moment where I was like, "What the fuck am I doing here? Why am I looking at a toilet on a Wednesday evening with the client?" And we're sitting here okay, so what do you think about this one? I'm like, I don't care, just pick one. They look all the same to me. And I'm just that's where I was in that transition where I'm fighting with this other designer, and I'm like, so you're going to go do all the things that I you're going to do all this stuff? Yeah. Okay. That sounds great to me. I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
And then I got all my time back. I love it.
I will look at shitters all day long. I don't mind. You want a black one? You want one that hangs from the wall? I mean, I'm game.
Yeah, no, not for me. That's not my thing. I'm I'm done with that. And that's where I really transitioned out of doing it myself, but also just like the end result is just so much better when you incorporate a designer into the mix. So what do you got going on? What's coming up for the rest of 2025 for projects? Any cool things? Anything cool?
I mean, they're all cool for the most part. So I partnered with someone in Thunder Bay. So that has been an awesome partnership. And that was a whole main floor that I was able to design virtually with them. That was a lot of fun. Cool. So that's going to be built within the next month or so. And nice. So, but I want a side note here real quick, because something too, just talking about contractors and working with designers, it's happened a couple of times recently where the conversation has gone from, yeah, we're just going to take out every single wall here. And I'm looking at it like, I don't think that that's a good idea. And I'm not coming at it from a level of trying to tell people that they're wrong, but it's this other perspective shift of, yeah, you could, and we could make it work, but you don't have to. And why do we need to start spending money that doesn't need to be spent? Almost like I'd much rather put it in other places. And so anyway, it's happened twice now that I've reworked the layout, saved everybody money. It's not just a big box that people are going to be designing in, and it worked. So that project was one where I kind of finagled some things and hopefully made it a little bit better. But one massive project that we've got starting in September is an entire home. So it's a 2-story house. I mean, just the main floor has about 2,400 square feet. So including the basement and upstairs, we're well over 5,000 square foot home, and We're renovating all of it.
That's a renovation.
Yeah. Every single space.
Where's that one?
It's local here in Windsor, Essex County. Yep. Right on the water. So really nice area. And that's part of, these conversations I have with clients as well, is how long are you staying in this house for will kind of determine some of the design suggestions that I bring to the table. And with these guys, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to find a property like they have. And so they made the decision, instead of listing and moving, that they're going to renovate it. And so we're in the bidding process right now. The design is pretty much complete. I'm sure we'll have a couple change orders, but
for sure.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, you'll have a couple, it sounds like. When it's their forever place, and they're like when people are like, settling down and locking into a home. Like I've taken a 3-bedroom. It was like a raised bi-level, kind of a unique transitional home. Original home, they had a pool, walking distance with grandkids, all the things, right? And they're like, we're not moving. They looked at buying like $1 million houses. They had cash. We're not moving. And so instead, they're like, they had 3 bedrooms upstairs, and they're like, yeah, I just want to turn it into 1 bedroom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so everyone's like, well, what do you mean? Like the resale? He's like, I don't give a shit about resale. I only care about living the rest of my life in a place that fits me exactly. Yes. And so those are the clients that people want to work with, because those are the clients that aren't nickel and diming you, concerned about, whether or not the house is going to be worth X dollars. And I don't care what, any realtor or anybody says. Somebody else wants that house as well. And they'll probably pay top dollar for it. But that house specifically, there's the bedroom. We took out every interior wall. So, even though you were saying don't take out walls, we took out every interior wall.
You just don't have to every time. That's all I'm saying.
This one was to just make a big badass bedroom.
I'll take it.
Huge bedroom, walk-in closet, walk-in bathroom, and then a small little room off to the side for grandchildren. There's like a little bunk room in there. It's awesome. But I mean, it's specific for them. And so, this project that you're working on sounds very similar to that, where it's just going to be, specifically for them and for their family. And so in those scenarios, if there's cash behind it, nothing else matters other than getting them exactly what they want. And the contractor on that project should be super excited. Have you guys selected a contractor already?
No, we just had a presentation yesterday, and we've got another one tomorrow. So those are kind of the two who are up against one another, and we'll see. Cool.
That's an exciting project. I look forward
and it's not the first time. I think those, again, in an ideal world, in a perfect world, some people will say that these clients don't exist, but I've worked with them and they're amazing. And I've had a handful in the past too, where it's like, this is our house. So we want it to reflect us and our family and what we need and how we function. And that's why one of my first questions is, how long do you plan on staying here for? Because if I don't have to consider resale value, perfect.
Yeah, no. And I think the people that say that those clients don't exist, don't know how to look for them, and they probably need a coach in their life. Just saying. But at the end of the day, those clients do exist. The world's a really big place, and there are a lot of people like that. Those are a lot of my best clients, the ones that, you know, are building a home for them to enjoy with their family. And if they can incorporate some creativity with a designer, I think it brings another level of significance for both the contractor, the family, and the designer. You know, your portfolio and my portfolio are what give us the positional value to do more projects like that. So, and the other part to this is like, you have to kill it in this, because if not, then it's all for nothing, essentially, you know? You know, even as contractors, we don't just, or we should not just look at a job as a job. We should look at a job as an opportunity to really promote ourselves, our business, our capabilities, and incorporating a designer, I think, brings just this other signature element that I love. Okay, so what else can we dive into here today? So you said you have two boys that are, you know, you're talking about meshing them into your business. Is that something that is that a you want thing or a them want thing?
You know what? It's not really a want. It's more just having that opportunity. When I was figuring out what I wanted to do with my life, I had no idea. And when I look at my past jobs, careers, however you want to look at it, I kind of dabbled in all kinds of things. It was just what interests me right now and what do I want to learn more about. And so it's not necessarily that I want them to take over the company or I want them to be in construction. It's more just so that they have opportunities in any bucket that they want, right? Both of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. I've got one that definitely likes working with his hands a little bit more, and another one who kills it at math without even trying. And I don't know what the world itself is going to do, but traditional schooling was never my favorite. Surprise.
I don't think it's anyone's. I mean, there are a select few people. Like, I think there's the 1% population that actually likes going to school.
Good for you.
Maybe. I think so. I fucking hated it.
It was not my jam. And so when I weigh out these options of how long are they going to go to a post-secondary school, you know, thing for, it was just, if you can dive right into something and you have someone who already kind of laid the framework for you, I'm just trying to make life easier for them. I mean, if they take the opportunity, great. If they decide to do something else, that's okay. But I know that life is hard and I'm not making excuses. You should struggle a little bit and there should be challenges, but I brought them into this world. If I can make it a little bit easier, then that's what I want to do for them.
Right. I love that. My son, he, and I've talked about this quite a bit on the podcast, so I apologize to everybody that's listened to the previous episodes. If I'm being repetitive, just, you know, get past it. Just understand that I support my kids as well. But my son just recently took up welding as kind of like a high school activity. It was like another course, and he is hooked on it. And he's really fucking good. Like, I don't know anything really about welding, but his beads look really good. You know, to understand it, you know, TIG weld in like, you know, a couple hours and then come home with this like cool little cube. I'm like, oh, it looks pretty good. And I sent it to a buddy of mine that's a welder. And I'm like, hey, what do you think of this? And he's like, oh, that looks really well done. And then I asked him, I was like, did you actually do this or did your teacher do this? He's like, no, I did. He's like, no, I did it. So I'm like, okay, cool. And like, we didn't know 6-8 months ago that was the direction that he wanted to go down. And that's just how it happens. It just comes. And as long as I think for me, what I really want to do with my kids, or what I've always done with my kids, is I just have every door open. It's it's like Swiss cheese. Here, we can just opportunities all around you. The only thing that I ask is that you just put everything into it. Whatever you're going to do, just become the best version of yourself in that. And so, you know, he hates school. I'm just going to be completely transparent. He hates school. His sister is a little bit more into school, but also kind of hates it. And the cool part is, like, you know, as he transitioned into this welding thing, I really was open to being as supportive as possible. And so he's finishing up grade 11. So he'll be going into grade 12 next year. You know, we were talking about universities and all these different things, which is still on the table, but the welding thing really changes the direction a little bit for him. So last year he did some landscaping as a summer job with a really well-known company local to here, and did some waterfalls, some water features, and some cool little things. So he sweat out in the sun. That was my idea. I was like, you're gonna go like hate.
You're giving me some ideas too. I already have a buddy I might have to call after this.
Yeah, you're gonna hate life, but you're gonna be pushing a wheelbarrow in plus like 30-degree temperatures, just to understand that you never want to work outside like that. Or maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe you enjoy it. But he did good there. But now he actually just locked in on a fabrication summer job, which is super cool. So he's going to be building like the rail trucks that service the tracks and different equipment, like literally building the truck that drives on.
Cool.
Super cool. And the best part about it is like it incorporates so many different elements that I'm like blind to. Like I'm blind to them. So now I'm going to learn from my kid, which is a selfish thing for me. But at the same time, it's I mean, it kind of is, because I'm just like, I'm super excited to hear about the things that he gets to create, because I don't know how to do that stuff. Like, I don't build vehicles, but I showed him kind of some of the stuff that he would be building, and he's like, I'm stoked to jump into this. So to see your kids as they grow up to focus some passion on it, I think it's super unique. So your kids will find their way as long as you open up every door possible, and I'm excited to see where my daughter goes. I don't know which direction she's going to go in. She has talked about being a designer at one point. We actually, that's a possibility. I actually got her one time this little magnet board, and you could move like the little furniture around. Yeah. It was a piece of graph paper. It was really hard for me to find this, actually. So it was a magnet board that you opened up, and it had like a little couch and a lamp and walls for rooms. And so she had that, played with that a little bit. That was a few years ago. It might have, the design thing might have subsided for a little bit now, but we'll see if it comes back around. So,
well, I'm happy to have a conversation with her if she wants to.
Yeah, we'll see where she goes. I mean, keeping the doors open again for her. She's just finishing up grade 8, so grade 9 will be next on her agenda, and it'll be
she'll have some choices to make. Yeah, at least picking a little bit of a direction is next for her. That's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing I want to talk about it with school that I hate so much is that they force you into knowing what you want to do so early on. It's like, well, what classes are you going to pick because you need to do this? And my son even said it. He's like, literally, school feels like they're just positioning me to be just a mole in the world. He's like, I hate it. Like, I don't want to do the things that they're talking about because I don't even know what I want to do. And then, and I'm like, oh, wow. So he gets it. I've been working on some software stuff for education to really try to change that, because there's just the dynamic around what school does to your kids and how it, I think it takes away the opportunity and the creative ability for kids to envision their own future in their own light. And a select few people, entrepreneurial people like you and I, have the ability of seeing through this barrier of bullshit that's put in front of us to kind of find our way to where we want to get to. I love that you're supporting your kids with that stuff, and sorry to go off on a tangent about
but if we're going to go down the road of traditional school here, I mean, I feel like a conversation in and of itself.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when like COVID happened and all of, the online learning, and I'm just like, no one sees what's going on. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, is my experience with school and how I can see things happening, and how can I just help make it a little bit easier for my kids, because they do really try to pigeonhole you, I think, really early on.
And like grade 9, grade 10.
Yeah, but especially if you're not good at school, if you're not the perfect student, even if you don't get good grades, like you can still be a good student. And I don't know, it's there's definitely a disconnect that I think you mentioned it. We see it. And so I'm trying to flip it a little bit so that my kids can at least see that they don't have to fall in line like
that's good.
Like school wants you to. There's so many other things that they could do, and doesn't have to be things in the past. I don't know. Now I'm going off on a tangent. Look what you did, Brandon.
We could go down a rabbit hole for sure. Well, hey, I really appreciated our conversation today. I don't want to continue down that because once you kind of get fixated on one thing, it just stays there. But lots of great conversations about incorporating designers, with contractors. If you're a contractor and you're listening to this, drop your fucking ego, work with a designer, be open, support them, mentor them, because they have clients that want to use them. And that means opportunity for you. That means you'll make more money. Everything works out. You produce better projects. Everything's better. So drop your ego a little bit, incorporate a designer into your life. I am going to say though, that the designer that you want to look for, and I'm not going to say the one that you don't want to look for, the designer that you want to look for is somebody that works with you and the client and understands that. I might get some hate over this, which is fine. You're the GC, you're in charge of the project. At the end of the day, you have to be, because you're the one building things. You're the one paying everyone. And that's the important part, is that you want to really just make sure that you're paying all the suppliers and the vendors, and that the designer is doing the design, the creative, and giving you the information to incorporate into your business. So if you can find that designer that is willing to work with you, that is willing to work with your subs, your suppliers, and your other vendors, then that's the one you want to work with. And I know that you do a little bit of both, which is fine. It works in specific scenarios for sure. But no, this is a great conversation. So if you're a contractor, drop the ego, hire a designer. KASS, if any contractors or clients that are potentially listening to this are in your neck of woods, where are you again? Sorry, one more time.
I'm in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, right across from the Detroit border.
All right. So if there's anybody that's in the area, you also do some virtual stuff too. But if there's anybody listening that wants to work with you, where can they find you?
I mean, Instagram, my phone number, my website. I mean, you can seriously just Google KASS Design Studio and you can find me. But ultimately, I start everything with a conversation. So cool. If you're just as simple as a conversation, is it bad if I throw my phone number out there? Like, call me.
No, yeah, don't throw your phone number. Yeah, but we got your. No, we don't need to throw the phone number out. We put up your Instagram handle, and this is her website. Perfect. So if you want to reach out to her, definitely click this or follow that link, and you'll find a way to connect with KASS, book a discovery, chat about a project, or chat about a collaborational opportunity for the two of you to work together. That is all for today. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Sorry we went down a bit of a rabbit hole with kids. I think that's what happens when you're a parent and you've got similar aged people trying to find their way. You kind of end up down that rabbit hole. So I appreciate our conversation today, and I look forward to working with you some more on some other projects. So thank you.
This was great, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it.